Continuing on. Extremum oppidum Elabrogum est proximumque Helvetiorum finibus Genawa. Caesar is continuing his geography lesson. He's talking about the last town, this is genitive, of the Allobroges, and it's not just the last town in the Allobroge territory, but it's the closest town to the borders of the Helvetians. And which town is it? Genawa. This, of course, is modern-day Geneva, which would make sense because I think we're running around by Lake Geneva. Ex eo opido, pons ad Helvetios pertinet. Oh, thank you, Caesar, for giving us a really nice, simple sentence. Look, we've got one prepositional phrase here and one prepositional phrase here, and that leaves the subject, pons, and the verb pertinet. So apparently this pons goes from one place to another. Notice from and to. Well, you know what? I think Caesar gave us an easy one because the next one gets a little more complicated. Allabrogibus se well persuasuros, quod nondum bono animo in populum Romanum viderentur, existimabant well vi coactoros, ut persuos fines eos ire paterentur. Okay, hopefully by now we're getting used to recognizing Caesar's sneaky tricks. I see a dative here, and that's because the verb to persuade takes a dative. You're always persuading a dative, and that's fine. But notice we've got an accusative, and then it looks like half of a future active infinitive. Assume this is not just persuasuros, but rather persuasuros esse. If you have an accusative and an infinitive running around for no good reason, we probably are in indirect statement, but Caesar forgot to tell us that. So let's assume that's an indirect statement, and then we have a quod, which introduces this dependent clause here, because, remember, indirect statement is always when you're talking about what somebody is thinking or saying. So they were thinking that this would happen, because, and this explains why, nondum bono animo in populum Romanorum viderentur. Let's see, we've got a noun-adjective pair here, bono, animo, and then we have a prepositional phrase, and then we have a passive verb. This verb, viderentur, goes with, or the subject is the Allobroges. So the Helvetians thought that they could do they thought this because the Allobroges did not yet seem, remember, video in the passive usually means seem, S-E-E-M. They did not yet seem and have it understood. They did not yet seem to be in bono animo towards the Roman people. Oh, and then Caesar gives us a verb that introduces the indirect statement, existimabant. The Helvetians were thinking that, this, because of all this. They were thinking this thing, or what else were they thinking? Another indirect statement. We, that's ablative, correctoros. So, correctoros is also really supposed to be correctoros esse, another future active infinitive. The Helvetians were thinking that they could do this to the Allobroges, or that they could do this to the Allobroges with this ablative. They could force them with violence. They could force them to do what? And then we get into this indirect command, which is why we have ut plus a subjunctive verb here. They were thinking that they could get the Allobroges to persuos fines eos ire paterentur. To what? Let's see. We've got a prepositional phrase, through their territory, this one being the Allobrogi, suos, the Allobroges territory. And eos refers to the Helvetians. Oh, they were thinking that they could get the Allobroges to allow them, the Helvetians, to do this infinitive through their territory. Wow, that's really mixed up, but I know you can handle it. Omnibus rebus ad profectionem comparatis diem dicunt. Remember, diem dicunt is to say a day, i.e. pick a day. Let's see. Omnibus rebus, oh, we've got an ablative absolute here. We've got an adjective and a noun, and then there's the participle. With all their stuff having been prepared for the undertaking, notice Caesar keeps using ad as for, they pick a day. Quad die ad repum Rhodani omnes conveniant. What's special about this day? A day on which day, another prepositional phrase over here, ad repum, at the bank of what? Of the genitive, Rhone River. And then we have the subject and the verb. They pick a day on which everyone's going to get together. Its dies, this day was, okay, we've got the date thing. Ante diem, 5 days prior to the calends of April. And then we talked about this before. Notice how the Romans like to tell time. What year are they planning on getting together? In the year when this guy and this guy were consuls.